Alright guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews, coming at you guys with American Crime Story, Season 2, Episode 3, Review. Alright guys, so I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was a pretty good one. Thought it was a little bit of a step down from the first two episodes. This one quite a lot more I would say, not more dark, because obviously, the whole season is going to be pretty dark, right? With this story. But this one was just like a little bit more, we saw more stuff, right? The actual, killing of Gianni Versace was, he just, walked up to him and shot him. But in this one, we see, more graphic, kind of gory, if you will, sort of images and stuff. So, yeah, just a kind of a dark episode, I would say. Like I said, I don't know if it's, more dark than the other episodes, but yeah. So, anyways, I meant to get this out yesterday. I recorded it and did everything, and then for some reason, like, it corrupted or something. The file wasn't there. So yeah, so I was a little upset about that. But anyways, and then I was just way too tired yesterday to do it again. So yeah, so I'm here doing it today, and then I'll have it up today. But from now on, I really want to try to get this out Thursday. I want to try to get it the next day, or maybe even the night of. Like, I didn't get to watch this one live, so that's another reason why I wasn't able to do it early yesterday. But if I'm watching it live, I really want to, get the review out as soon as possible. So, and it's just easier for me too, right? To make it right after I see the episode, then I remember everything and that stuff. So, yeah. So, anyways, in the future, I want to get it out Thursdays, or maybe even the night before. We'll have to see. So yeah, like I said, pretty good episode. Probably my least favorite, to be honest, out of the three so far. But yeah, so I'm gonna get to a little bit of a recap. I shouldn't be too long in this one. And then rating, favorite character, and some overall thoughts. Alright, so let's get into it. So, at the beginning of the episode, then, we get introduced to Lee and Marilyn Miglin, a rich, older couple. So, I would say maybe like 60s, maybe late 50s, I would say. No, probably 60s, right? Because they were, they look pretty old. Although she looked quite a lot younger than he did, to be honest. But yeah, she looked pretty good. But anyway, so yeah, I think they were 60, living in Chicago, and they're obviously the big focal point of the episode this week. So we see Marilyn getting home from her trip to Toronto on the shopping channel or whatever. So she comes home. And first we get the idea that, she calls Lee, he doesn't come to the airport to pick her up. She's kind of wondering where he is. And at this point, we're kind of like, okay, I think we know, what has happened here, right? Like, we know, with Andrew and all this stuff. So we know that something has happened here, and that Lee is not okay. So basically then she comes home, and then she, comes home to, a bunch of just, like, clues kind of spread out that something bad has happened to Lee, right? That there's pudding on the counter, there's, like, bloody clothes in the bathroom and stuff like that. And then the other couple comes as well, to kind of help her look or whatever for Lee. And, they're kind of, freaking out too. They don't know what happened to him. And yeah, so she basically comes home to the aftermath of her husband's murder, right? Lee is dead. And then then the policeman and the other woman go to the garage, and that's when they actually find his dead body. And the woman screams, of course. She's shocked. And then Marilyn says, "I knew it." So that was kind of interesting. What that all means, like, what did she know? I don't think we're quite sure. I mean, I don't think that's, meant to be, explained. But, yeah, so she just says, "I knew it." And then that's pretty much the beginning of the episode there. That's pretty much, the teaser, if you will. And then the little, intro plays. So, yeah. And then, of course, we get into the episode then, and they tell it, sort of backwards. So basically, it's just like pretty much how the season is going, pretty much, right? They show first 5 minutes of the season, they show the assassination of Gianni Versace, literally, right? We see it happen. And then now they're going all the way back and telling us, how we got there, right? And Walking Dead does this. They're famous for doing this a lot. They do this a lot in their episodes. And I feel like it's effective. I mean, I like it in TV shows. I also do like just, progressive storylines, right, where they tell us, in order. But, I like this too. And that's how this episode is as well, right? So then we get a flashback of a week earlier then, and we see Lee and Marilyn at a hall giving a speech. and we kind of get the idea that they're, pretty, first class, or classy people, that have quite a lot of money, living in Chicago there, and they're part of this, association or whatever at this party. So then we see Marilyn leaving for her trip, right? And Lee says, I'm not going to go with you or whatever, and then obviously, we know why, but so he decides not to go with her, which, we kind of see that, and it's like, if he would have went with her, he would probably still be alive, right? So it is what it is, and I kind of like that part there is like, if he did go, and he was thinking of going there for like a few seconds or a few minutes, and he was like, no, I'm gonna stay, but if he went, he probably would have survived. So just crazy stuff there. But so then when Marilyn leaves, Andrew calls Lee and tells him that he's in the area and wants to come over. So then, and then with this, we also get the idea that they've met before, right? Because Lee is pretty taken aback by Andrew being in the area, and he really wants him to come over, and he's like trying to impress him, like straightening up his suit and everything in the mirror and preparing for him to come. So yeah, I mean, obviously they've met before. Obviously Lee kind of likes him, I guess. Per se, he likes his services, I guess, because he's an escort, right? Andrew's an escort, or at least Lee is. I don't know. But yeah, so Lee agrees to him coming over once Marilyn is out of the house. Obviously, because she doesn't know. And basically everything just goes haywire from there, right? Everything, that's basically the beginning of the end for Lee Miglin. So then the rest of the episode kind of just shows that. So this was probably the most chilling part of the episode here. Maybe second. Well, no, I would say the most chilling part of the episode, and there was a lot of moments like this in this episode. But so then Andrew comes over. So he comes over, and he's eating a sandwich or whatever, and it's like this guy's just eating a sandwich. And then we see his manipulation with Lee, right? We see that a little bit more. How he totally seems just like a normal person. And, he's able to touch on people's emotions and all that, and really, manipulate them, make them think that he's something that he's not, which is crazy. I mean, like, it's really chilling to even just watch him, being able to do that and have these, like, different faces, he's, like, talking to Lee, and then all of a sudden he kind of, like, snaps on him and says, why are you showing me this? You're just trying to talk to me, and whatever, and it's, like, seconds before you were, like, kind of into it and like romanticizing a little bit with him. So yeah, it's kind of crazy to see. And then we also see that his like obsession maybe to older wealthy white men. Because the last episode at the what was it, the plaza or whatever, he went back with that other old guy. And he was, he had money, and he was, an older white guy. So I think, we're kind of seeing that trend as well. I think that's sort of, something to, that has come up here, right? It's definitely a trend that maybe that's his interest or whatever, it could be. But then and then this is probably the chilling, the most chilling part of the episode here is he takes Lee to the garage, and this just sparks a hard to watch scene. Honestly, it was a little hard to watch, especially because you know that Lee's gonna die, right? You know that he's gonna die in this, but you don't know how. And honestly, how it happened is awful, right? It's terrible. So basically, we see him duct tape Lee's face, and again, this is just like the older man in last episode again, becoming a trend, right? I mean, again, right? The duct tape on the face, and he like duct taped his face last episode, so that seems to be like his thing, right? I mean, duct taping, per person's face or whatever, and like just letting them breathe so they don't see it or something. And this, this could also be, a thing where, he doesn't want them to see him doing it, I guess, or killing them. I don't know. Obviously, you can't really get in his mind. But that would kind of, be something maybe that could ring true, right? It's like he doesn't want them to see him. That's why he tapes up their face or something like that. But yeah, so anyways, he tapes up his face and then ties him up with the wire. And then he tells him that he's going to surround his like dead body with homosexual like porn magazines and dress him in women's panties and do all this stuff, to embarrass him, right? And I forget the word. But he said something like that, or to embarrass you. I think it was something like that, or to be ashamed, something like that. And obviously, Lee doesn't want that. which is, obviously because he's trying to hide that, right? No one knows that. So then he goes over and gets a bag of cement and drops it on his chest, and then we find out that that bag actually broke every single rib in his body. So that's crazy. And then if that wasn't enough, then he stabs him to death. Right, and then obviously he's dead for sure. Then I think he may have been dead with the cement bag, anyways. But and then again, if that wasn't even horrible enough, that he killed him, then he stays the night in the house. He has a bath in his bathroom, and then he steals his car as well. And then he does, he comes through in his promise, I guess, and puts all these magazines around him and dresses him in women's underwear. So yeah, pretty crazy stuff there. And then he steals the car, which is obviously a big part of the episode. So we see a very interesting part of this episode, and I felt like this was kind of needed because the whole rest of the episode doesn't really touch on or show anything to do with the actual assassination of Gianni Versace, right? Which the whole season is based on. So this episode was kind of strange in that regard, that it didn't show anything like that. I mean, Donatello wasn't in it. None of those guys were in it. It was literally just Andrew's kind of past, showing us him. And a little bit of the police, of course. So, but yeah, I felt like this was good because it kind of, introduced us a little bit. So then we see Andrew going to this Versace store in New York City. So this is, after, of course, he kills Lee and he's still in his car and he drives to New York City then. And he's at this Versace store, and it's just like, you kind of get the chills even when he goes up to the wall, and the Versace, name is on the wall there, and he's like looking at it. You're like, wow, like that, that's pretty crazy because we know what has happened, right? And now they're showing us this. So, we see him looking at some books and some pictures of Gianni and Donatella, and I was thinking, maybe this is when he decides that Johnny's going to be his next victim. I don't know. Maybe it was planned in advance, or maybe this is really his next target. I don't know, because it seems like he kind of targeted Lee, right? I mean, I think he kind of picked him out. I don't think that was a random thing, but it sounds like that this is maybe the first time that he's kind of thought of Gianni. Although we've seen that he's met him before, right? So maybe not. Maybe this is just sort of a he wanted to look in there and see him, I guess. But anyways, very interesting scene there, and kind of creepy, right? Because he's just kind of walking around in the Versace store, and as we know, a few days later he kills the guy, right? So pretty crazy stuff there. And then this was one of my I guess I like this this was more likable scene in this episode for me, not as dark, I guess, but which is fine. I mean, I'm saying it's dark and stuff, that's okay, because this season is dark, right? I mean, they're following this serial killer pretty much, right? I think the actual assassination of Versace is not that dark. I mean, it's just, a gunshot to the head or whatever, right? I actually think, in the first season of American Crime Story, O.J. Simpson, I mean, the crime that he allegedly committed or whatever, that he committed was actually worse than the actual assassination of Gianni Versace. But obviously the criminal or the suspect in this one is obviously quite worse and has done worse things. So we see the police getting leads on him. They figure out that Andrew is the man responsible for committing the crime, for murdering Lee. And then they find his truck that he drove there, parked on the curb. And it's like, I don't know, he just kind of left it there. Like, I feel like, he could have done something. That was kind of a dumb thing. But, they found out that truck is actually linked to another murder in Minnesota that took place. And he's also responsible for that one. So they're kind of piecing together stuff now, right? And then they find out also that Lee's phone is still working in his car, and that they can track exactly where Andrew is going. So the plan is working well, right? They're able to track him. They can see that he's going to New York City and all that. They know that. But then it pretty much all goes to shit, pretty much the whole plan of tracking him, because a news outlet leaks the information. And it's like, I get it, the news wants to make money. They want to get these stories. But I mean, you just cost the police catching this, sequence killer or serial killer, whatever you want to call him. And it, was that really worth the story, worth the money? Like, it's crazy stuff, just crazy stuff that and I don't doubt that actually happened, right? I mean, that I totally see that happening. But anyways, then we see the captain is pissed back at the police station, throwing papers and flipping his chair and everything. Not surprised, right? I mean, that was their best lead, and now it's completely gone. And then we see it basically, diminish completely as Andrew is driving in Lee's car still, and he hears it on the radio, right? The radio station is broadcasting that, and right away, he pulls over. He's kind of freaking out, actually. He pulls over, and he gets rid of the antenna and the transmitter so they can no longer track him, and he just throws them, on the side of the road there. And then he decides, he needs to get in a different vehicle, right? He cannot be driving around in Lee's car because, they know where he was, and they know, the phone and everything. So he pulls into this park, and that's sort of, a big part of the episode, too. But I think this also symbolizes that he doesn't want to get caught. Right? I mean, he does some things, like leaving the truck there. It's like, why would you do that, if you don't want to get caught? But also, why would he just freak out all of a sudden and take off, this transmitter and antenna and throw it away right away and try, to get a different car, right? Obviously, he doesn't want to get caught. But other things kind of, speak the other way that he does want to get caught, or I think he wants to play it on the edge, right? He doesn't want to get caught, but he, wants to leave clues, and he wants people to know that he did it, I think. Something like that. So, definitely building a little bit of character here and, telling us, a little bit more about, what he is about, what this Andrew guy's about, and, what he wants to do. So, yeah. So then he pulls into this park, and this was also another chilling scene, where he's just sitting there. And he's, in the midst of all these families coming out, getting in the car. All these people are just kind of walking around. And he's just sitting there. And it's like, this guy has killed 3 men. This guy's just killed 3 men in, the course of what? Like, 2 weeks or 3 weeks or maybe a month or something. Maybe even a few days. He's killed 3 men. And, your kids are just, walking around, willy-nilly and whatever and everything. So it's really chilling to see that, how he just blends in, no one knows, nobody knows that he's, done what he has done. And he's just a member of society, which, he really isn't. Like, he shouldn't be. So I thought that was really chilling. And then also, then this happens. So then he needs a car, right? He needs to switch from this green car, and he sees this old woman coming out, right, to her car, and he's about to shoot this woman. I mean, he gets the gun out of his backpack. He's just about to do it, and then finally, luckily for her, I mean, then her husband comes out, an older man, and then, Andrew's kind of like, okay, I'm not going to do it now, right, because, I'd have to kill 2 people, and that would be quite a commotion or whatever. So he's kind of drawn off by that. But then, I mean, this is just terrible. I mean, this is just wrong place, wrong time type of stuff here for this guy. So then we see, this guy in a red pickup truck. And, of course, another connection here. They're really doing a great job of that. We've seen this truck in episode 1 and 2. So we know that, Andrew takes this truck. And we know that this is actually the truck that he drives to Miami with, right? So, so we see this guy in this red pickup truck pull up to the park. And, like I said, just wrong place, wrong time for this guy. I mean, if he didn't pull into that park that day, he would have, things would have gone a lot differently, I bet. So, anyways, then Andrew gets in the green car back. He follows him home, and then opens the door to his house. It's like, why didn't you lock the door, man? But anyways, Andrew probably would have got to him anyways. Then he goes in, and he's holding him at gunpoint. He says, can I take you downstairs? Nobody has to get hurt. I just want your truck. Can I take you downstairs, lock you down there, so when I leave, I know that you're not, going to call the cops or whatever, which, okay, that kind of makes sense, and the guy, kind of understands that, so Andrew takes this guy down to the basement, and then the man, starts, pleading for his life, he says, I have a wife, I have I think it was a daughter, or a kid, or something like that, and I'd like to see them again, and, kind of doing this, and then we see Andrew's face, it's like, all emotion just kind of flushes away from his face, he's like, just a really blank face, like he doesn't, feel anything at the moment, and then all of a sudden he just shoots him in the head without a thought, right? He just murders this guy in the basement, which is crazy. I mean, and we just saw no emotion on his face at all. Like, that's another chilling thing about this episode. It's like, this guy, without a thought, just kills this guy after he's, pleading for his life, says he has a kid and a wife, and you just kill him. Like, just crazy stuff, and that's another point, like, how do you understand these, these people who do this, right? It's crazy stuff. So yeah, then he takes this red truck, of course, right? Yeah, he takes the truck, and leaves his green card there, right? So he's kind of, making it so that the police are going to check in on that one. And now the police have totally lost him, right? And he's once again, and he's got away. So crazy stuff. And I think, if this happened in recent days, I think he would have been caught. I probably after the one in Minnesota. I mean, this is, technology now is just way better. Or much better, sorry, than it was back in 1997. And I don't think, he would get away with the stuff he's getting away with now. I feel like they would definitely be able to track him. But back in 1997, things being, the way they were, he was able to get away. And he has got pretty lucky, too, though, right? I mean, for the news, outlet to leak that. If they didn't, would he have been caught? Probably, right? So, just kind of things lining up in his favor. And, wow, right? He gets away again. So that's pretty crazy stuff. And then the end of the episode here, the last couple minutes of it, I thought it was pretty important, although, some of these scenes with Marilyn felt like a little bit of a filler this episode, but I felt like this one was kind of important. So Marilyn goes on air, outlines, and she's kind of talking on the shopping channel about the death of her husband. So I think this is about like a week after the murder, and she's outlining the events as a random killing. Of course, this is the name of the episode, and I feel like this was very significant. So, she's, labeling it as a random killing. It was just a robber, came into the house. Lee was, there at the wrong time, and he got killed, by this robber, and whatever, and, he just wanted money and whatever. So, yeah, and I mean, she's ultimately just trying to cover up that her husband had these homosexual tendencies and that Andrew was actually an escort, right? He wasn't a robber. He was an escort who came over for Lee, and Lee let him in the house, right? So, but I think the important thing is that this paints a false picture of Andrew and maybe even helps him in the long run in his further actions, because, she's telling the media and all these people that it was random, this Andrew guy is just a robbery guy. But no, he's a serial killer or a sequence killer, whatever, that's on the loose and killing men, killing these men. It's not a random killing, right? It was planned and all this. So, I just think, that helps Andrew, ultimately, right? And I think it's definitely a false picture. She's not calling him what he really is. And even she knows, right? I mean, she knows, the gay porno magazines and all that outline, with her husband and how he's wearing, women's underwear and stuff. That's not a robber, coming in and killing, your husband, just, randomly. So, yeah, crazy stuff there. Crazy stuff, right? I thought that was pretty crazy, how she's, labeling it as a random killing, and that's the name of the episode, too, so I thought that was a very important scene there at the very end of the episode. So, now I'll get my rating, favorite character, and some more overall thoughts of the episode. Alright, so in terms of a rating for this one, I'm going to give it a 4.2 out of 5. So this is a little bit lower than episode 2 and 1 for me. Like I said, it's probably my least favorite episode so far, out of the 3. Overall, very dark episode, right? Like I've said, multiple times in the review. It's very dark, right? Yes, the other 2 have been dark. We know what has happened. We've seen the murder of Versace, that stuff. But this one I just felt was a lot more, we actually saw it, right? There was a lot of images in this one, a lot of gore, sort of, a lot of violence and stuff like that. And to be honest with you, I don't think that this show would actually kind of work. I don't think you could show this stuff on NBC, let's say, or ABC. I don't think these network channels would actually air this stuff. It's pretty bad, right? I mean, The Walking Dead on AMC with their season 7 premiere, spoilers, but with the characters getting beat in the head with a baseball bat, they got a lot of, that was really controversial, and they got a lot of outcry for that, for having too much gore and stuff. And this one, I mean, it's pretty close. I would say probably even worse than that one. Obviously, it's on FX, though, right? So, FX, they do, stuff like this, I would say. Not regularly, but, it does happen on FX. So, but yeah, I just want to make that point. I don't think we'd be seeing this on regular network channels, that's for sure. And again, piecing together things very well with the red truck again. Then another part of the episode is where Marilyn says the robber he stole Lee's gold coins, and they'd be very easy to recognize if he goes and pawns them off. She literally says that to the officer, and then last episode we saw that Andrew pawns off these coins at the pawn shop. And it's crazy, right? I mean, just the connections here and all that. So they're doing such a great job with that, the writers. Really kudos to them for that. I really like that for sure. But, probably my biggest negative in this one is no mention or any, screen time spent on the assassination of Gianni Versace. The only thing that we literally got mentioned of as Versace is him going to that store in New York City, right? Which was not bad. But, the whole season is supposed to be about that, and we're not really seeing any of that. Like, season 1 with O.J. Simpson, I don't think we ever, saw an episode where, we just see O.J.'s past and whatever, right? We didn't really get to see that. We literally just focused on the crime and the trial. But this one, I guess, you kind of have to tell a little bit more of a background because Andrew's not like OJ, right? I mean, he is a sequence killer, a serial killer. So yeah. So obviously, I do appreciate it. I don't have a problem with it. I think it's a good episode, but I just felt like they could have maybe spent a little bit more time on the actual Gianni Versace instead of just having a sole episode for this. I felt like and I don't think it needed to be the full episode. And I felt like a few of these scenes were really filler, like with Marilyn and Lee. I just felt like it took out some more time. And this episode also, this is notable as well, that this one was like only 48 minutes or 47 minutes, and the others are usually like 55, 56. So obviously this one, it's about like what? That's 7 or 8 minutes shorter than usual. So obviously, this one is a little bit, on the shorter side compared to the other ones, and I just felt like the fillers were just a little bit too much at times. If you're gonna put those fillers in, okay, then make it a 56-minute episode, right? Why shorten it? But that's just my opinion there. Favorite character for this one, I'm going to pick Marilyn Miglin, just because, otherwise I'd probably pick Andrew again, and, I've already talked about Darren Criss in the last one. So yeah, Judith Light, playing Marilyn Miglin, starring in this episode. I would say, she's probably the highlight character, right? We see a lot of scenes with her. She's actually in almost pretty much every scene in this episode, so she did great. Haven't seen anything that she's been in. I tried looking up some things, she's had, small parts in big things, I would say, but I haven't really seen her in anything, but I thought she did great in this one, as Marilyn Miglin, and, I felt like the character was very good, very, I would say, very easy to, relate to, I guess, or relatable, right? With losing her husband there, and I think that's how most people would act, especially, if he was hiding a secret and that stuff, and she's trying to, cover that up and everything. So I felt like that was great too. But yeah, Judith Light did a great job with this one. I don't think she's going to be in any further episodes. This was kind of just the one episode that she's in, but she did great and guest starring in it for sure. So yep. That's favorite character there, and that'll just about do it for this review, American Crime Story. Thanks for watching, right? And keep tuning in. I'm going to be doing these week to week till the end of the season. There's 9 episodes this season. And apparently we've already got confirmation that season 3 is going to be about Hurricane Katrina and George Bush and that type of stuff. And that sounds really interesting to me. So we'll see when that's coming. I'm not sure. Probably 2019, I would think. Maybe early 2019, maybe late 2019. I don't know, right? But I just thought it was kind of cool news that I wanted to get out there, that's been confirmed. So yeah, pretty cool stuff there for sure. And so I'm looking forward to for next episode next week. I think it's going to be great, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season. It's really shaping up to be pretty damn good, pretty dark, but pretty damn good. So anyways, again, thanks for watching. Thanks for the support of my videos. Really appreciate it. We're almost at, I think, like 22,000 video views and all that, and the subscribers are climbing. So yeah, really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for that. Couldn't be happier. Yeah. So anyways, again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week for American Crime Story Season 2, Episode 4.